Hold on. Make sure it's recording. Yeah, we're good.
All right, I can answer the first question. So the first
Perfect.
question states, it says intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So how do intrinsic and extrinsic motivations influence adult learning differently? And like share an example of how this varies in each one of our learning experiences. So I would say, first of all, they're two different things. So intrinsic motivation, um, it's like different a little bit. So it's like it influences how we learn differently, like in terms of like engagement, persistence, and like how we actually manage that knowledge like in a long-term retention way.
Yeah.
So I would say like an extrinsic motivation for me when I was younger was like I would get something if I had certain like all A's or something. Um, and that was kind of like a basic thing. It's like you get 20 bucks if you get all A's.
Hmm.
And that kind of like cemented like, oh, I'm gonna get rewarded, for example, if I get all A's in the certain classes. Um, Certain areas would be like, I guess in like jobs, like they promote you, example. If you've been working hard. And that's like an intrinsic motivation. So it's out of the self. Intrinsic would be like a self internal motivation. So like to strive to be better, I guess. So um maybe if you did bad on a test and then like you want to do better on the next test, that would be something that would be intrinsic because it's in yourself. But that's kind of the example I've had would be young at getting like money for report cards or something like that.
Yeah. I think for sure, like intrinsic versus extrinsic, they influence your behavior because like one is like you're doing it because of like you need to, and the other it's a want versus need. So it's motivation that way. Like intrinsic is very much like you're doing it for self-satisfaction. You're gonna be more motivated to do something. If you want it, you will have the motivation to do it, I feel like. Extrinsic is like it's the clock, it's the what you need to do, like in order to like keep going. So like for me, I feel like extrinsic for me is just like school a lot of the time is extrinsic, it's like you got to do well in this class because if you don't, you know what I mean? Like if you don't do well, then you won't succeed, that sort of thing. So it's like,
Yeah,
kind of
100%.
scary.
Yeah.
And then like intrinsic, I feel like intrinsic for me, like recently has just been like connections with other people, like really working on to like just be meaningful with the people in my life and that sort of thing. And like ensuring to like, I don't know, learning how to be like a person to other people and all that kind of stuff. But those are kind of my examples, I'd say.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was kind of like Luke. If you got good grades, you got something rewarded with
yeah, that was
something
like
as far as intrinsic. Go ahead, Will. Did you have something else to say? Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Uh,
I just have like a juice box.
no, you're good. And then extrinsic, I feel like we've had to really dive into that as far as becoming college students because there's nobody else motivating you to do well, especially at A&M. They don't really care if you're there.
You're the only one that like wait, they don't care if you're there or not, and they do not care if like it's difficult because even like the professors are like they do not care if you're having a rough time.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that class done whether you like it or not, and that's just kind of how it
Mm.
is, I guess.
Yep, for sure. Okay. You want to move on?
Yeah, I
yeah, I
think
think we
so.
answered that one pretty well.
Hold on. My
So the
question's
second
just
one states, it says barriers to motivation. What are some common barriers to motivation in adult learners, and how can educators or organizations address these challenges effectively?
All right,
Um,
I could
so I'd
start
say
with
like
this one, or you
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 got
got
it.
it.
I can go. Okay,
Yeah.
so I kind of wrote down like adult learners can like often face barriers like obviously that stem from motivation, and that varies on like their life circumstances. Like
Mhm.
a lot of us like go through family obligations and during college, we're just a lot more hectic and we have to find like a good balance. So I think that that's like a motivation. Sometimes barriers for motivation is like dealing with other stuff. Like, I mean, college is like, it's a big like plethora of stuff. I mean, it's getting like connections with other people, learning. It's just a lot of stuff you have to manage. So finding that motivation in those circumstances often like, I think stem from something. So like kind of Will says like his like thing of getting like, connections with new people is like a great motivation that people get. Like building new friendships and stuff like that. I think that's great. So like other barriers could be like financial reasons, like not being able to purchase a textbook or not being able to go to class because you're working a job, trying to meet up with like what you need to get financially. So I think that's something that definitely affects people's motivations. Especially like when you're in a heavier schedule and you're working a job, and you're having to balance all that, it can be really
Mhm.
hectic. Um, and trying to find the motivation to do some of those busy work assignments just like isn't there. I think
One thing that,
professors play a huge role in that, like how
yeah,
they structure the class. Like especially like when teachers like structure the class in a way where it's like your participation is just as important as the work you put in, and if they can see that and like they make a difference, I think that's something that's super helpful, especially for learning, because when it's just like those Canvas quizzes and you're just reading off a PowerPoint, like you're not going to be as engaged. You're not going to learn as well. So I think stuff like this, we do discussions, definitely helps our motivation. And it also keeps us on track because we have to meet every week. So I think that's something that increases our motivation.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
One thing that really irked me was that Cartito and that management class, having to purchase that after, like, because like we're in an age now where your textbooks are included in your tuition and all that, and some kids don't have that extra 150 bucks to purchase
Or
that
like pack
platform.
back.
Yes.
Pack
Yeah.
back, it's like another discussion, but
Or
like
any of these online labs. Like me
they're
and Luke
expensive.
have like different like labs, and I think they're like $100
Oh, they're
each.
expensive. You
But
know, they're like a
You're
hundred.
joking?
No,
no,
it's like a separate online lab. It is like pretty cool in my opinion, but it's like it's 130, I think.
it's
And then
cool, but like, is it $130
no, it's
cool? I
not.
don't know.
It's like I wish it was like integrated a little better because you're paying for the textbook or you can get it like bundled, but it's like $150. Like you're already spending a lot of money. And then
Yeah.
when you're adding that up with like I had Cartito and then I had that lab and then I have to buy another textbook. So I mean I just do as best as I can find them online, but
Yeah.
where it's like stuff that's tied to your grade, especially I think I have the main gripe with Packback because that's so easy to do in the discussion post in Canvas. And it's
Yeah.
like I mean I get it like if there's 800 people in the class, but I don't know.
100%.
And you're in that management class, right? Where we just
Yeah, we got
got a
a
new
new
professor.
professor, so I'm not sure about that. And then the group me
He's
got taken down.
he seems a little more in tune though, so I'm kind of
He
looking
does.
forward to that. So, but yeah, I agree that those are huge like barriers
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
definitely
kind of
financial.
just shoot you down. That
Yeah.
you're like, okay, how am I going to get past this? And then with work,
And
I feel like you lose motivation depending on your environment. Like if you have a team where you're always having to pick up the slack or nobody else is really doing anything, like you kind of play off of that, and so then your motivation is just shot.
especially when you're the one like facilitating the whole group just for others to kind of like squeeze in the last moment and say, what do I need to do? That's kind of something
Yeah,
that's like, it doesn't happen much to me, thankfully, but like I know all the students I work with because we have a small major, but like
right,
other classes where you're like having to get in a group, it's just like, it's hit or miss. Like, are you gonna have a good time in that class? It's kind of based off that. So
right,
I've said that's a barrier. Financial, we covered that. And then like obviously like family obligations or any obligation outside of school, like going to the doctor sometimes is even a huge barrier because you have to get the doctor's note and it's like a whole process of if you can really be excused from class
Yeah.
and you have to meet
mm-hmm,
all the criteria that that A&M states. So that's something I'd say that could be a little more lenient in areas like
right,
if you don't want to go spend $150 on a doctor appointment because you know you're sick,
Yeah.
but
I
right.
you
think
want to get your class excused because of the mandatory attendance. So that's something I would say.
I think it's
I'm
so rude to go somewhere sick. Like, don't be the
no,
person
right?
that gets somebody else sick.
Like people with the flu, you can see them coughing in the back of the classroom and like,
hmm
ugh,
You see them visibly
Mm,
like just not want to be there, but they're only there for the attendance.
yeah.
yeah.
I think
Um,
we're good to move on to this third one if y'all are good with that.
sure.
SDT,
Yes.
according to SDT, autonomy, competence, and relatedness are key factors in motivation. How can adult educators create learning environments that support these three needs? Um, in one of our other HR classes, like we're learning right now how to like keep people engaged, and that number one thing is telling them why they have to learn it. And because that's their first question, like, why am I in here? Why am I having to do this? Um, so I think like, and then also keeping people involved in the activity or in whatever you're trying to teach them. Otherwise, you just completely lose interest if you're standing up there sliding through a PowerPoint show.
100%. Where it's like
Yeah.
for some of my classes where it's just like a PowerPoint that just goes through the entire time and it's just like there's no way to keep you engaged and then you're like learning it, but it's like if you're just speaking to me and you're not saying like why this is important that I should be learning it, I just
Right.
zone out. And I know there's one class that me and Luke had that we just had the exam for where it's just like
Oh my.
yeah, yeah, where I
It
think
was
the
like
average was like
yeah,
50.
it was a 40 out of 70.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it
a
was like a
50 total
50
grade.
55 or something.
Y- Yeah, where it's just like the teacher doesn't like he doesn't motivate the students. He doesn't really like say like why should we be learning this? What is it? What is the implications of
Yeah.
this? And it's just a PowerPoint slide, and then maybe like a full Google Doc that he'll just read down the
Yes.
lines.
We're like a specific PowerPoint slide from the like put on the test, and it's like how well is that actually like learning the material or just memorizing certain topics. And I would say like one of the
Mm.
classes I had was I took like philosophy 111 for like one of the cultural credits, and that was like probably one of the most like fun I've had in the class because it was like so interactive. And at first it was like a little, I mean, it's a huge lecture hall. We're like in the Kim building where it like kind of goes
Oh,
down.
sure.
It's that huge lecture hall. It's like 400 people. And our professor's like super interactive with students. Like he would go up to questions, ask him like these questions and what they thought of it. And like he would engage like the whole class into a conversation. So it kind of allowed everyone to share their mind. And it was like he made it very like, even though like it was kind of, I mean, it's like 400 people. It's kind of nervous to share in front. He made it like super like easy. And then we had recitation where we'd go over those topics. And like I learned a lot from that class, just considering like how it was like structured. Like we did have tests, but that wasn't the main influence. It was like the tests were like a knowledge is like if you applicate like if you what you applied in class, like you could figure out the test pretty well just because like the conversations. And like Will was saying, classes that are just PowerPoints, it's like it's hard to like stay engaged. Like I'm
Mm.
kind of guilty of skipping that class a lot because I kind of know what we're gonna do. Um,
Right.
and it's
And
like
they
not,
upload it afterwards
yeah, it
anyways.
uploaded. It's already all uploaded. And then we have the expensive lab we have to pay for. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just do the lab. And
But
like
yeah,
me and Will share another class where I would say it's pretty project based, like 3 of 3. Like,
yeah,
and
super.
this professor we had for like this semester and last semester, and I think he does a really good job like incorporating like just formal lecture like off Google Slides, but then like he always has like discussions in there. So like what you have to learn, you actually have to apply. And I think it's a great way because we've all kind of been familiar with each other. I mean, it's a small class, and we've had it for like 2 semesters back to back now. So everyone feels like comfortable enough to share. I think it's like a great way of like keeping like at STD states, like keeping like simultaneously engaged. And then
Mhm.
like you don't want to get the answer wrong, but if you get the answer wrong, it's not too like high stress. Like he's very like confronting and like he'll do it like in an easy way where it's not too confronting.
He'll straight
Right.
up if you like, what's the answer? I think you think no, you don't
Yeah.
know. And so he'll go to the next person. So it's like it's those professors I feel like that like really like motivate people to like learn. Or it's like I had
Hmm.
another class where it's like a like it was public speaking. So it's like a lot of like needs a lot of interaction. And this professor like he not only like speak in front of the class, but he would just like keep ping ponging off of people like in the class, and it was like small. So it got like everyone engaged and everyone like felt like comfortable with each other. Like we literally talked about it. We're like, this is like the most chill class I've had. I'm like low key like I'd hang out with y'all, and it was like just such a good environment and that just sort of thing.
Or the professors that really are hard on you and embarrass the heck out of you if you do
Oh,
answer something
those, yeah,
wrong.
those are the worst. Because they like
Uh,
want you to participate, but then they'll like gripe on you so much if you get it wrong.
yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm trying to help you out here. But I think
Uh,
we did a good job of answering that one. I mean, only thing else is like external factors, so like work, like culture. But I think you're kind of the only one that has would be dealing with that because like we're still kind of in school, and then like influence an adult learners to like ability for like to fulfill these needs, and like how would educators or professors do to like mitigate any like negative effects? But kind of like keeping the like we kind of just said like kind of having like positive reinforcement if you do get the question wrong, or like creating
yeah.
like an easy way to answer the question without being like held to a certain standard, like at the beginning of the class, so you can kind of gradually work your way up. That's all. I think that's the best way when professors do that, because then you're kind of growing with the class. Like as your
Yeah.
knowledge grows in the class, like your confidence also kind of goes up a bit. So I think it's a great job they can do.
Yeah.
I think projects or like any kind of like group discussions and like willingly, like if you get a good group or like people are just like responding on time, it's very helpful. So that's something I think that's great. But that's kind of it for
Yeah.
3.
For 4, I think it really ties back to what we were speaking about earlier. Because
Hmm.
it says like how do
It's like
emotions
your
impact
emotion.
motivation and learning? Can you think of a time when your emotions enhance and hinder your abilities to learn? We were talking about like those like professors that like will like build you up or like will like tear you down when you answer
Hmm.
questions. And we just talked about how like if a person's gonna like be negative and like put you in that negative emotional state, like you aren't gonna be motivated to learn. And the teachers that like build you up, keep you engaged, make you feel good in a class and like comfortable, that's what like allows you to learn. I don't know, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
100%.
for sure.
Like professors that are able to kind of like swallow their pride a little bit, like that's what I would say. Like they have to understand that like we're not gonna always get the questions right, especially like on topics we're not as well like informed on as them. So like if they're able to like kind of like evoke like a good learning environment, like we said, to where you're not too like scared or like fearful of like the answer that you give out, I think it's a great way. And like they're kind of able to like understand like where you are in that class. Like I think a lot of our professors have been doing a better job of that. Like me and Will, this major, like they kind of understand like where we're at and like this stage of our learning, and they'll like tie it. Besides that one class, I'll say, but they do like a pretty good job of that, and they're able to like influence us into actually showing up and participating.
Yeah, I agree. I think like when we're answered just scary, or scared to answer, we completely shut down. So
Hmm.
they have to find a happy medium because we have to be able to or take constructive criticism. I mean, we're going out into the real world, but at the same time, not so harsh that you never raise your hand again to answer.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
think we
did
got
you,
that.
oh yeah, I think that's good because it says like when your emotions either enhance or hinder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Workplace learning and motivation. What strategies can HRD professionals use to maintain and enhance employee motivation in workplace learning programs? One thing right now, we're still trying to like implement that one program and nobody wants to do the training, like nobody.
Oh, the onboarding stuff.
Yes. And so they don't want to sit down and do it. So like I'm having to work right now myself on implementing like little awards for people. You get to this point by this date, then you get a steak dinner. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's the extrinsic motivation right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Boom, tie back. Yeah. I mean, like it's definitely like those sort of things, like those extrinsic motivations, like whenever people, if they don't feel like it applies to them, you know what I mean? Like there's some like for like employee motivation, sometimes giving the why helps, and sometimes giving the why is just like, well, that's cool and all, but like it doesn't apply to me, so why should I do it if
Right.
it doesn't apply? So it's it's those two things where if it can be like giving the why first always helps, like because the people that are going to be intrinsically like motivated will just like go out on their own and get it done. But
Mhm.
I feel like what you're saying with your rewards and like incentives really like gives like that extrinsic motivation to help those stragglers like kind of like corral them into actually like learning as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think like that's when one of the biggest issues is because in that training, you have to do every single part of it. And some people are like, well, I don't bid the job, so why does that matter to me? Or I don't, do the ordering, so why does that matter to me? So it's really they don't see a why.
Yeah, like when I was working at like the restaurant over the summer, we'd have to do a lot of e-learning. Um, and like you would have to do it because it's like all food safety stuff. So like we couldn't be like behind on anything. But like I remember one time like I was there and I wasn't really doing anything, and they made me do everyone's e-learning on like the iPads because no one had done it for like 2 months. It was just like no one had the motivation to do it, and like obviously in your sense it's a lot more practical and like applicable to the job where it would make an impact. We're doing like this e-learning on an iPad where it's like you're answering these boring quiz questions, but like I would say like a way kind of like you said, you're kind of giving them like something to you're kind of giving like an extrinsic motivator, which I think is great because like they can kind of get past that learning curve at the beginning of like getting familiarized with like a new training or stuff like that. And then
Right.
like once they see that, oh, like it's actually they could see like stuff that oh it's actually paying off, and then like that would probably motivate them to more like intrinsically like I'm not sure like what y'all do exactly, but like if they're being able to like be more efficient and take less time off certain things, and it's kind of just
Right.
overall better for the company. I think everyone would kind of realize that because like that's kind of state of life we're in. Like we would just want to benefit like what you're working in.
Right. Yeah,
So I think that'd be like great to boost the motivation.
I agree.
There's like a lot of ways that like like I wrote down like HRD professionals like can measure like the effectiveness and motivation strategies. And then there's like a ton of like performance indicators like engagement rates or like employee feedback. Like we ever been somewhere and like they want you to put like that little feedback form at the very end,
Yeah.
like see how they did and like or like at the end of courses when you have course evaluations and you're
Our
able to like
professors.
you're able to give like that, like they push it super hard because they want the engagement, but
Right.
like, you know, if you had a bad professor, like you can let them hear it, like it's unbiased. And like at the end of the day, it's like they're the people teaching you and like they're getting paid for it. So like you should be like as true to yourself as like, feel like if they really did help you, if they like they didn't foster
Yeah.
like that good of a learning environment. Like I had like a
I feel,
stats professor and it was like I kind of
oh
let him
yeah.
hear it on that. I let him hear it on
Yeah.
that thing. It was like this
Anon
guy,
check
the
that
anonymous, yeah.
anonymous box.
I was like, this dude needs to like relearn like a method to teach us because he was like, it was not a good class. Like I did pretty poorly in it, and like a lot of the friends I had in that class, they were like, yeah, we don't know what anything's going on. It was just kind of like put together. Like we were on the ILCB, and like I think Will took that class too, and had a different professor, but it was like it was so chaotic, and like everyone had to like meet up at the ILCB, and it was like 700-800 people in this like small thing passing around Scantron's, and it's like
Oh,
no
what the
one
heck?
wants to do it like that. Like, and then and I'm
Also,
talking to people at the test, like, do you know what's going on? They're all just like, no. It's like,
good. You're doing great here. I think like being in an HR position, one thing that is hard is getting feedback from people. Like even in that one management class that we're in, like we get extra credit if we fill out, these feedback things or surveys for that other professor. But you usually don't hear from people unless they're mad. So it's hard to get any kind of like positive feedback sometimes unless people are really enthused and encouraged to do it.
Yeah, I feel like in order to get like positive feedback, you have to be like really good, and negative like it's like the threshold in order to like go out of your way to do something. If you've done
Mhm.
good, like they probably won't, but if you do really good and like beyond like hit all your marks, then they'll say something. And but if it's like anything bad, then I feel like the threshold is very low because no one wants to be inconvenienced at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
yeah, or
like
take the time for anything that doesn't benefit them.
yeah, it's like
mm-hmm.
that kind of like that thought of like the silent majority sort of thing where it's like if people are content, they'll be like fine, but like yeah.
Yeah, it's like if I have a professor that's like kind of average, like I'm not gonna go out of my way to give him like a course evaluation because it's like at the end of the day, it's like it was kind of an average thing. But like on the other end of the spectrum, like if they were really great, I would feel really compelled to give them a great thing. Like I've done that many times. Like I really did enjoy this teacher, and I hope they do get credit for what they did.
Mhm.
But vice versa, like if this teacher like did a poor job, like it should be equally as known as like so kind of like Will said, like it's if it's like adequate, you're not gonna feel as like compelled to do it, especially like they have to put an incentive sometimes, like our professor did for management and like how they swapped was like kind of like confusing because I just looked, I was at the beach, I just see like 50 Canvas notifications,
Oh yeah, me
and
too.
it
I'm
was
like,
like,
what in the heck?
I'm like, what did happen? What just happened in management? Because it was like all those Canvas notifications, new instructor, new group me, like he's making a Zoom link, but he definitely does seem like a little bit more like
Oh, I know. I
interactive,
was
I would
like,
say.
I hope that he's sending a message saying no more Cartito.
Well, how many do we
But he
have
did.
total?
I
Is it
think
six?
six. Yeah,
That
six.
means we just have what? Well, we have two more then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm not looking forward to those.
he moved the due date already, so which helps. But I need all the extra credit in that class I can get because my first Cartito was rough.
I just went ahead and did them this morning. I didn't know if they were due or not.
Hmm.
But
And there's
yeah.
the signage is dumb, but anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't uploading a grade right. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think we're good. So
I think we are good.
Yeah,
I think we only have a couple more of these left too.
I just wish
Yeah.
these were worth a little bit more.
hundred
I
They're only like
know.
percent.
5 points. I wish they were like 10 at least.
Or the ones we didn't get credit for, but that's all
Yeah,
right.
100%.
Yeah. Hey, they were good. They were good.
Yeah, so I'll like finish the scribe. We're about to drive to Houston right now, but I'll finish it
All good.
tomorrow afternoon on our way back and then
Uh,
I'll get it
all good.
uploaded.
Okay, if you need anything, just let us know.
All right,
100%.
perfect. Thank y'all.
Thank
Bye, you
you.
have a good weekend.